executive coaching has assumed a lot of significance in the current scenario in India. If you see the economic scenario in India, the situation in organizations are fast changing. One of the major observations you have at top level leadership is the number of people available at the top level leadership positions are very less. The competent leaders who have experience and who have competencies to handle at that level are very less. So organizations are facing a dearth of people. Second is the absence of critical competencies. Even if you see people from internally from organizations to be elevated to the chief roles, the chief of sales, the head of sales, the head of marketing, or head of HR, head of operations, those kind of roles, if you see, there is a dearth of competencies from the people who are promoted. And also when you promote a person, that person may not be suitable to take over that immediately. The transition requires him some kind of hand-holding, some kind of competency development for him at that level. So this calls for a very good opportunity for utilizing executive coaching as a new learning and development intervention in organizations. A lot of organizations already have started incorporating this as part of their learning and development programs. What is executive coaching? See, the executive coaching basically is looking at the opportunities of the person, the competencies of the person and the opportunities of the person who is having in himself. You are looking at the person in an in-depth manner. So a coach, a certified coach or a professional coach, when interacting with the person, he is trying to understand the person. Basically it is creating self-awareness and making the person aware where I have opportunities, where I am good, where I am not that good, and where I have opportunities which can be utilized in my day-to-day affairs. So basically the process relates to creating a relationship between coach and coachee. And once they have the trust, once they have that kind of cultural acceptance, then the coach and coachee will be able to analyze the situations, analyze the transactions between them. Through that, the coach will be able to assess, able to analyze the person and help him to show a mirror to himself. That mirror will show him where he or she stands in terms of his opportunities and competencies. So how the coach will be doing this? The coach has to use a holistic approach in developing a person. The holistic approach means the coach has to look at the person, everything as a whole, and then we'll have to see what are the opportunities of developing him as a whole individual and a professional. Second is the coach has to look at the person in an empathetic manner. And he has to empower the coachee to come out with his own way of self-realization. So there is a standard methodology. Different organizations will use different methodology. Each organization which is undertaking coaching and certification of coaching of coaches will have their own methodology. I will dwell upon the methodology a little bit later. But basically the coaching competencies I'll touch upon now. For a coach to be a very good person and very good coach to understand another person, first is he has to manage himself well. He has to realize himself well. He has to understand his limitations. He has to understand and improve upon his awareness, self-awareness to become a very good coach. And he has to live the values, because there are a lot of values comes into play in a coaching relationship. When you create a relationship, the relationship is based on mutual trust. So the first thing you will have to have is the trust has to be developed with the coachee, and also the confidentiality. You are dealing with coachees from different organizations. You will have to incorporate you will have to withhold the confidentiality clause in all your dealings, because you are dealing with even organizational details and individual details of a person. And then you will have to, like I said, you will have to engage the person with empathy. You will have to engage the person with empathy and understand, and you will have to listen to him, you will have to understand him, and you will have to make him talk, and you will have to make him open out. So through that, you should be a very good listener at that time. The coach should be a very good listener at that time. Otherwise, you will not be able to listen and understand. Along with the listening, you will have to understand what the coachee is saying. And after understanding, see, active listening is not just by listening to him and allowing him to go on talking. You will be probing in between. You will be challenging him in between in things. And you will be understanding the emotions he has undergone at that point of time. Along with the behavior, you will have to notice and you will have to understand the behavior he has undergone. The coachee has undergone, the emotions he has undergone at that time, you will have to identify. So based on that, you will have to create a trustworthy relationship with the coachee. You will have to engage him in a meaningful discussion, understand him, you probe him, and make him open out everything to come out from him, and then summarize it and then leverage it for your own understanding and also to help the coachee to understand himself better. One more leverage coaches will be using is the psychometric tools, the psychological aspects of it. So we'll be using a lot of psychology, leveraging on the psychology, leveraging on psychological tools. Apart from discussion with him, coach will also be depending on many tools, like there are several good tools available, like MBTI is a good tool for understanding the type of human beings, type of personalities. Then you may use the values in action. There is another tool called values in action. But each coach can select tools depending on his situation, depending on the coachee, depending on his understanding. He can select the tools also to add to him. Basically, a person, you can define, you all will be aware of Johari window. And like Johari window says, there are 4 quadrants, where one is very open quadrant where self is also knowing and the others are also knowing. And another quadrant where unknown to others but self is, we are knowing it. But there is another quadrant where unknown to self but others are knowing it. But then the last quadrant where it is completely a blind area, isn't it? Nobody knows about it. So we are interested, as a coach, we are interested more in exploring in these 3 quadrants. Open area is available to everybody. The area where the self is not aware, others are aware, we can use a beautiful tool like a 360-degree feedback system. With the support of the coachee, with the help of the coachee, you can get the name of people who are working with him in various levels. Probably his superiors, his colleagues, his friends, his family members, his subordinates, all you can collect. And from them, coach will be able to talk to them and then get a very good feedback about him. That feedback, the coachee may not be aware of many of the aspects of that feedback. So that way you can attack on that particular quadrant. The next quadrant where it is self is knowing and others are not knowing. So you can encourage the coachee to come out with self-disclosures, like he can disclose and you can also prompt him to disclose. The coach can prompt him to disclose so that you will get an idea from that area. The totally blind area, coach and coachee together can explore that to some extent. Others also can point out to some extent. And self-disclosure also, self also may realize to some extent and then they may also disclose. So using all these mechanisms, you can completely honor the complete personality of the person whom you are dealing with. See the behaviors, the results you are seeing outside of a person, you will say this person is very effective in the senior leadership role. But maybe 1 or 2 aspects he is not good in that, or he is having some issues with some aspects of the behavior. Outside what you see the result are based on your actions and behaviors at a little bit submerged level. But below that actions and behavior, there is a big circle called mindset and what we think and feel. All our behaviors, all our actions are coming from what we think and feel. So we have to explore and coach has to reach that level and understand where the coachee is in terms of his belief system. Basically it is a self-limiting beliefs. Many of the people are not achieving the potential due to some kind of beliefs. For example, I came across a coachee. I was doing coaching in one of the international organizations which is into digital business, and there I was coaching a senior executive. So he was not acting fast and taking action on non-performance. That became a big issue in the organization because the organization is very quick in dealing with non-performance because they always believe in highest efficiency level for their people. But this particular coachee was very reluctant to act on that. When I got the briefing from his sponsor, what I got is they said this person is more people oriented, because of that he is not able to take action against people. But when I used the tools, when I had 360-degree feedback and when his MBTI profile also came, I came to know that this is a task-oriented person. He is very high on task orientation. So there is nothing called people orientation which is preventing him from doing it. But his action is, he is delaying the actions on people. So you will have to go behind his behavior, you will have to explore in depth. When I explored in depth, I have come across 2-3 things. One is the person himself has lost the job in one of the previous organizations and he has to suffer because of that. And finally he joined this particular organization also at a much lower level. And then due to his efficiency, due to his performance, he has come up to the current level. So he always have a story behind him that is the sufferings and difficulties associated with losing a job is there. Second is, he was working in a multinational organization where they never send out people or take drastic action on people. They continue with even non-performers. They will park them, they will try to improve them and go ahead with them. So with these two, he has reached his belief system is, we will not separate any person, we will not terminate any person, we will not separate any person. But the particular organization is believing in immediately moving out those people who are not performing. Because they don't have time to wait, they are growing in a very fast pace, they are taking up that kind of challenges, so there is no place for non-performers. So this is the self-limiting beliefs which will prevent a person from performing. So the duty of the coach is to go in depth in that and then understand what are the self-limiting beliefs which is preventing you. Let us see the coaching process now. The coaching process begins with the initial chemistry meeting with the coachee. Because first of all, the coach has to create a good relationship with the coachee, and both of you have to have that trust created among yourself. So first is the chemistry meeting. And your sponsor, sometimes coachee could be the self-sponsored coachee, or the coachee superior should have engaged you for coaching activity. So the sponsor, then you will have to have a three-way meeting. After the initial meeting with the coachee, you will have to have a three-way meeting with the sponsor. There we will discuss his feedback about the coachee, his intention of doing the coaching, subjecting this person to the coaching, and also whatever findings or whatever initial feelings we have come across, that also will be shared with the sponsor, but only with the consent of the coachee. The whole thing runs on the trust between coach and coachee. Unless coachee agrees on anything, coach will not divulge it to anybody in the world, even to the superior or anybody else. So the second process of three-way meeting will roughly decide what is the agenda of the coaching. There are different kind of coaching envisaged in organizations. One could be developmental coaching. Means the person from the current level has to be coached to reach the next level of competencies so that he or she is considered for higher level. Another could be within the role itself there is a non-performance. Some of the aspects of his behavior or actions are creating some kind of non-performance where you will have to coach him for improving on the performance. So it could be different coaching kind of, maybe for the future one or maybe for the existing one. But based on this you will have an agenda. Based on agenda, now the coach has to work through coachee to arrive at the goals. How will you arrive at the goals? The coach has to have interactions with coachee, understand him. Like I explained earlier in Johari window, you try to understand all the quadrants related to the coachee, and also use tools of 360-degree feedback or appropriate psychometric tools you use and get a complete picture about the coachee. Now based on your discussion, based on your agenda, based on your feelings, you are now creating a hypothesis. From the initial discussion, you may think that this is the problem, or this is the area of development, or this is the area of improvement we can utilize, and then we can develop the coachee to give you better performance for the organization. So there you will have to compare with whatever has come out through the evidences in terms of 360-degree, evidences through your psychometric tools, and some of the organizations may provide other details, like if the coachee has gone through some assessment and development center, they will give you that results. Or even the superior will give his feelings about the coachee, his feedback also he will give you. From all this, you will have to arrive at your findings of his strength and opportunities, also his strength and separately the opportunities for where he can work with. Then you are going to have a discussion with the coachee. You are giving this feedback, you are presenting this feedback to the coachee. Coachee sometimes may be shocked to see some of the findings because he never might have felt that I am this way. For example, in one of the coaching cases which came across, the person was very harsh with his subordinates. Very, very tough with his subordinates and very harsh with his subordinates, and this feedback came up from people like that. So you will have to give the feedback of 360-degree to the person. You will have to make him understand this is the picture emerging from different tools and different mechanisms which we have used. And based on this, finally you will arrive at 2-3 areas where you will work upon. And You will, as a coach, you will find out the leverage, what we call as leverage. Because in some cases, by working on one of the major behavioral issues or actions, it can change so many other things. It will have a better leverage on his whole performance. So you will have to find out the leverage, then you will have to set the goals. The goals should be SMART goals. It should be specific, measurable and realistic, and there should be a time-bound action plan we can make for that goal. So there should be a workable plan in the process to develop a SMART goal. And based on the SMART goal, the next step is you will sit with the coachee, you will, in subsequent meetings, you will talk to him, and you will have to make the coachee come out with the action plan. In this process, there is nothing. This is not a consultancy process. In a consultancy or a mentoring process, you may suggest something for him to be, this is the problem, this is the solution. But in coaching, we never suggest any solutions. We are making the coachee think about it, and we are making the coachee come back with the thought process about him. Internally, they will be self-reflecting, and then they will come out with, they themselves will realize and say. For example, recently in another coaching experience which I have come across, this particular person was a very star kind of a person in the from younger level itself, because he has done instantaneous projects and achieved very good results. So now a situation has come where he has to be with the department and acquire that kind of skill in that department and then move up to higher levels. But he is not able to stick on and focus to something. Then when we were discussing, he said, always I have been given this kind of task by my leaders, and they were all very big leaders, and they have given that and they have appreciated me for doing it. But now I want to move into another one. But unfortunately in this organization also I am getting this kind of jobs. Then I made him think. I told him, can you just think and say whether they are giving it to you or you are creating that situation and grabbing it? Then for some time he waited, and then he looked at me and told, yes, I may also be part in getting this. Because wherever some issue comes up, even if it is not related to me, I will talk about it and I will come out with technical solutions. Then they will entrust that task with me. I said, this is the, added together in your personality, this has become a very good motivating thing for a longer period, and you have adapted to that style. Now you will have to slowly change. And you should not push for, or you should not motivate others to give you different kind of works and flood your plate with so many other things. So basically, the job of the coach is to make the coachee realize, what is the problem? What is wrong with this particular behavior? Or what is wrong with this? Or what is the change I have to adapt? In some cases, you may probably have to show him the picture of what you will become. If you change everything, what you will become. What is the ultimate picture? You will have to show that picture. That will motivate him to think about and then move to that direction. Sometimes it will be hidden, it will be blind area where he may not be understanding. Another coachee, in my case, another coachee was, when I collected the 360 feedback system, also people were telling, we can't understand what is in his mind. He will never open up and he will never tell anything, and even if we say something negative or something against him, he will keep quiet. He will not express himself. Even his family members told me that. So when in discussions, in in-depth analysis, in further discussions with him, he told me, I don't want a conflict with the person. So he believes whenever he objects to or opposes the opinion of another person, it results in conflict. Even they use the word conflict only. He said, I don't want conflict with people. So I will keep quiet. I don't want to pick up conflicts with him. Then I said, then I will have to slowly make him realize the difference between conflict and assertiveness. So slowly I will have to bring him to the level of assertiveness, where you will have to be assertive and tell whatever you feel right and whatever is good for that particular situation, you will have to express. He slowly started practicing. Then he himself, after practicing, it will reinforce him, and then he will realize the difference. So the job of the coach is mainly to show that mirror. So in the process, after setting the goal, you are helping the coachee to come out with action plans. You are only a facilitator, you are only a supporter, you are only a motivator for the coachee. And you will support him, and then he will come out with that kind of an action plan. Go travel along with him in the action plan. Because this is a process, it will roughly take around 8 to 10 months. So travel along with him, and you will see that he will be moving ahead, and then he will be achieving progress. That will give you also motivation and satisfaction. And once he reaches that level and achieves results, he will be a confident man. And then he will be ready to continue that. Now the question is sustenance. So the last phase of the process is how to make it sustainable. There are different methods available to make it sustainable, and once you make it sustainable, your coaching comes to a good conclusion. And you will have to close the coaching process with an assurance to him and say that your coachee will continue the process. Coachee will not feel that you are moving away and he will again fall down. No. You will have to ensure a continuity, and then slowly you will have to move away from that so that coachee will continue his job. Different organizations will follow different process. The particular process I was explaining is with respect to Coaching Foundation India, where I got certified. So each one has their own process. Each process is fine, but the basic process is same. You are going to explore the individual. You are going to explore the individual through various tools and arriving and going behind his self-limiting beliefs and helping the coachee to come out of that, so that he takes up a journey of change, a sustainable journey of change, and then he is ending up with a good performance. We were discussing about the coaching process till now, and now we will move to the Indian situation again. We have just briefly described earlier that Indian situation also warrants coaching because of the changing economic scenario. There are a lot of new roles getting created. Complexities are becoming more and more difficult, which calls for coaching. And also in the many organizations, the requirement is for the businesses expanding to newer markets where even abroad countries are also included, which calls for competencies to be successful in those economies. If you see some studies which has conducted in India, one organization has conducted study consolidating around 140 coaching cases, and they have seen that mostly in India, the coaching needs are related to the requirement of the people at the level in senior management about to increase their self-esteem, or to increase their confidence, or to make them more assertive in their role, or to be like learning to say no. Many people have find it difficult to say no at that level. Learning to say no. Or delegate things more efficiently and believe on your subordinates and develop them to do the job. These are the kind of skills mainly required at that level in India. Opposite to the scenario which we see in North America, they are typically in an individualistic society, where achievement oriented and they are more into control and power kind of an economy, where even in management, the requirements are for making the people, some people are becoming too tough to deal with in managerial roles. So they have to be softened. The typical narcissist approach from people and egoistic approach from people. Or you see that very aggressive behavior and alpha male kind of behavior from seniors. So that has to be toned down. And you see the difference in Indian scenario and the other one. It is typically the culture based. Their culture is already in the other extreme, and we are building up from our culture of more sharing culture and more of collective society learning, and from sharing that kind of a philosophy, we are moving into a Western kind of culture. So there the requirements are for acquiring those kind of skills which I talked about, becoming more assertive and delegating things more and showing self-esteem of high level, and also to become like, you will have to be showing that presence, executive presence in your role. Many of them may not be able to do that. So these are the requirements typically which was coming from India based on the studies. And if you see in the North Indian situation, how it has, North American situation, how it is evolved is, there was always this consultancy and therapy kind of things were existing. People need some kind of a support, they will go to a therapist or they will go to a consultant, and there is no taboo attached to that. But in Indian society, the typical support system is based on your teachers, your friends, your family, or your senior or mentor. You will go to such people when you face personal problems. In Indian model, it is emanating from that mentorship. Even though coaching and mentoring is clearly different, it is emanating from mentorship. So your coachee, even though you say you are a coachee is expecting you to be a guru, a knowledgeable person, and a senior person who can act as a guide. So you'll have to keep that in mind in Indian situation. And in the Indian scenario, people will be expecting that, and you will have to be that kind of knowledgeable person. Even though you are trying to deal only with behavioral issues in a structured manner, in a systematic manner, you will have to be considered as a mentor, guru, or the guide by the coachee. This is the scenario difference between the two countries, if you see in North America and in India, if you see that way. And that is why in the process, the building chemistry initially and creating the trust is very, very important in India. So even if the organization is appointing a coach, I earlier stressed upon that, the organizational coach is going to be your personal coach, because you have that kind of rapport. That is why in the process also we define that chemistry meeting is very important, where you create a rapport between both of you and also have a very good confidence among you, between you, to work upon further. Otherwise the coaching will not open up. The coaching will open up only to such a person. That is our cultural background. So we have to tune our coaching process into the cultural background of our society. So naturally we will have to go into that, building that kind of a chemistry. And another study based on Indian coaching situations have classified various needs in coaching, which is the highest need coming out of coaching for the organizations. 49.2% is from intra or interpersonal skills required. Mostly it is coming from intra or interpersonal skills. Your emotional quotient or emotional intelligence, how you behave in those kind of situations. That is one of the things which come out mostly. And also your executive presence, or your negotiations, or how will you communicate with people with impact. Those are the aspects of interpersonal as well as intrapersonal aspects is covering the maximum need for coaching in organizations. The second is, of course, your business competency is required to see the whole picture, and strategic initiatives, change management, and business acumen. All those kind of things are coming in the second. And the leadership competencies are coming only at the lower, like 17.6% is the leadership competencies. So from our cultural background, we can conclude that the people at the senior level, most of them are having that kind of business skills and acumen in our situation. We may have to add something on intra and interpersonal skills. That is the area where we need maximum support in coaching. So with this in background, I will say this is one of the effective tools now picking up momentum and picking up very much acceptance among senior level managers for improving their efficiency. Organizations are resorting to this based on the requirements at the senior level. Many organizations have incorporated coaching and then assigning personal coaches for senior people. A person, a senior executive, a CEO or another person can also directly decide to have a personal coach. He can go for a coaching and he can engage a personal coach. No harm in that. But with organization, whether it is organization appointed coach or your personal appointed coach, the process is same. You will have to create that kind of trust, and the coach's complete trust and commitment and opening out is required for improving it. So in the coming days, I think this will catch up as one of the most important tools, and all organizations can make use of executive coaching to a great extent to impart required competencies in the changing scenario of business with all complexities and with sheer numbers going up. On sheer numbers, I will tell you some simple examples. Earlier when we take, I am from retail industry. Earlier when we were thinking of retail industry, the turnover we are talking about is around 1,000 crore, 2,000 crore kind of things. But in the current scenario, each retail company is going to the turnover of 10,000 crore, 20,000 crore kind of numbers. So even a zonal head will be handling your 2,000 crore business. So that sheer number itself calls for additional competencies because of the sheer number and also because of complexities. So coaching, executive coaching is going to be one of the best tools compared to many other interventions. Because at senior level you have the business skills. Like I earlier said, you have the business skills. No need for any classroom training or official technical training kind of things at that level. There you need more of intrapersonal, interpersonal skills as well as business competencies. So this is executive coaching will definitely act as a good method or excellent method, well accepted method for solving the problems of improving the number of leaders in India to cater to the needs of our growing economy. Thank you.